Wache, Ani, Bonjour, Sego. Good morning, Minigajat. My name is Clarence Kakaji. And as some of you might know, we've been doing some videos with individuals that have been walking with Crochet Lodge. And we do this so that we can share our relationships with the communities that we work with and the communities and individuals that we support. I'm going to introduce myself with my spirit name. So, Wache, I am Kiwe Tinwe in the Ne. That name translates into North Wind Man. I'm from the people of the Mushkegowuk, people of the river, Chapleau Cree First Nation, and I am a beautiful spirit. And I'm also sitting here with another beautiful spirit and a sister of mine that I've known for quite some time. Marianne and I have been walking together for over 10 years. And I'd like to offer you something for your time, for your time today. I'd like to offer you this tobacco for sharing your gifts, for sharing some of your stories, and for sharing some of your energy with us today. So if you would accept this, it would be great. And if you could introduce yourself, it would be even better. And it's an honor for me to sit here with you and to share this space.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Miigwech.
Oh,
Miigwech, Clarence.
yes.
Bonjour. I'm honored to be here, to sit with you in this beautiful space, in this territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples. Very grateful to be by the fire and to smell that beautiful medicine. It's a gift. I so needed it today.
Yes.
So, miigwech. So, bonjour, nindawe meganadak. Norani kwe indigenous kaz, makwadorem. We kwem kong minwa sagamak donjiba. Ujiboy Anishinaabe kwe minwa, nswe medewin endao. Nagojuanang megwandida. Ikanamagazit endao. Very happy to be here. My Anishinaabe name is Nodanikwe. That stands for Wind Spirit Woman. And my clan is the Makwa, and we'll be feeding and feasting him very soon. It's that season for feeding my clan. So I'm very grateful for this time to be here. And so I'm from Wikwemikong and Sagamuk territories. That's where my ancestors walked. My parents walked there and my grandparents walked in that territory. So I'm grateful for them and all their teachings and all of the elders who have walked with me. And very grateful for this relationship with Crochet Lodge. It's been a gift. It's been a real gift because I get to share that, what I know, what little I know with community and the gifts that I carry. So I'm really happy, always willing to come here and do what I can to help the community, right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's about community, the work that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we could just back up a bit and share with the people that are joining us today how our relationship started. And I still remember when we met the first time, and I was looking, I was searching, I was hoping for someone that would walk with us, and it was called the Lodge at that time. And I remember meeting you at one of the working center cafes, and I was a bit nervous. I had some tobacco, and I saw you come walking in, but it was almost like it was meant to be. It was meant to be because, we really didn't know each other, but our spirits connected. And I shared with you from my heart what I was hoping to create, what we were hoping to do. And then I offered you tobacco and I asked if you would join us on the journey. And that was over 10 years ago. And now you're like my sister. You're like my sister, and I can't thank you enough for walking, for being, for guiding, for realigning me at times, and for just having that unconditional love, not only for me, but for the work that we're doing, for the community and for creation. And that's priceless. That's priceless to have that and to offer that. And I try to model what you do. Because you do things in a very, very good way. And, when we started our relationship, we started in Guelph, right? We created something like this in Guelph at a retreat center. And we had a lodge there, and we were doing sweats, and that was a good time. That was a good time. There was a lot of poison ivy there. Do you remember that? How
I
we
do.
had to put cardboard around the sweat
I
lodge
do.
and all the wood chips,
Yeah, I
just
remember.
to keep that poison ivy at bay.
Yeah.
But how awesome was it that we were nestled right in the forest, full of cedars. We had the Aramosa River running right by us, we could throw a stone at it.
Yeah.
And we were actually connecting with community. We were giving them something that wasn't offered before, and we were helping those ones find a pathway not only back to the land, but back to themselves.
Exactly.
And it was so great because that's where I was working with Hilton King. Hilton King was teaching me how to carry my fire bundle. And then we were also starting to help other men carry their fire bundles. So when I reflect back on that and where that time was and where we're at today, it all started from a thought. It all started from a vision. And I think it all started from hope. I was hoping that we could create something that would give the people something that they never had before. And that was ceremony.
Yeah.
That was commitment. That was accountability. Those were things that people had to learn to make that possible. And I want to thank you from the bottom, top, left side, all around my heart, just for being part of that, and for still being part of that today and walking with us. I think it's truly amazing. So what we're trying to really do with the people and the listeners who are tuning in, we're trying to share through your perspective and other perspectives how we at Crow Shield Lodge can be the best ancestor we can be today. Not when we're gone, but today. So that's what we're asking people, how we can be that best ancestor. I think it's a bit of a different concept because when we think of ancestors, they're gone. But we want to create everything today so that by the time our descendants are here, it's just about maintaining these places and spaces. All the hard work will be done. And saying that, language is so important. Language is so important. Unfortunately, I know very little of my language, which is Cree. I'm part of the 60s group. I grew up with Mennonites, and that was the farthest thing away from me being a Muskega Walkman, right? Being brought up by the Mennonites. Saying that, I'm so grateful for what they gave me. I was never abused. They accepted me, and they gave me different foundational teachings that helped me at that time in my life. Now that I'm older and I've made that connection back to culture, and I do ceremony, and I do my best to help the people, today I have different foundational teachings. And those are the teachings of the 7 grandfathers. And they really help me to be all that I can be. And saying that, it's one thing to say the 7 grandfather teachings.
It's another to live them.
It's another thing to live
Absolutely.
them. Yeah.
We're seeing that, right? There's so many of those teachings. And the one I think about often is humility.
Yes.
And I've heard that teaching quite a bit in terms of leaving your ego at the door.
Yes.
And that stuck with me when I first heard that. And the idea that we're just one part of creation. We're like Crow Shield Lodge is part of creation. It's part of our people's journey. And it's where and a lot of people are drawn to what the offerings are, to the workshops, the spiritual practices, and the being part of relationships with with one another. But humility is just one grandfather teaching. And I think when we focus on, like, there's 6 others,
Right.
but they're part of us. And we have to, and I'm constantly reminded by that one teaching. Because when we think about how we fit in creation, what role do we play? And what role, how do other people respond to us? It's really important that we remember that we're just one part. And when we were starting our work, and I remember that visit at Queen Street Commons, I'll always remember it because it was part of a vision. And I could see that you had a vision. And when we have that vision, that's what guides us. And I refer to that as our spirit. It's like the eagle that sits in the east, right? That represents vision. We have that, you know, and that foresight to know you knew that what community needs, and I know what community needs. And when you talk about the men needing support, we know that our men have fallen. And they need that to be lifted up. They need to know they have a purpose. And that's what, when we can do that, we can show that you're important. You have a role to play, and we'll help you. We'll build up your spirit. And we see it happening. I've seen it in the people that work with you, the men. I've seen them in the workshops, how they've been, the changes that happen. That is the gift. The change that we see happening, the transformation. It's like, you know, the water walk that I lead here in this territory. That's the same thing. People are transformed when they do it. Seeing it is one thing, but actually doing it is another. So when you're building up this Crowshield Lodge, it's the doing that is the work. Like the elders say, putting your hands on the work. Building the sweat lodge, putting the tarps up, bringing in community, actually inviting. That is the work. And the relationship building, it's always a challenge because everyone is different. Every person that comes, that walks in front of you, has their own story. And so if we don't know their story, we might judge because of our own walk, you know, or our own belief system, or what we've been taught. And sometimes we have to unteach ourselves some things. Like, this is not the right way. This doesn't fall into our teachings. I have to remind myself, leave your ego at the door and just let the people be. And sometimes we watch people make mistakes and we let them. We let them make mistakes because they have to learn. They have to learn from it. And my elder that I watch and learn from, Edna, she talks a lot about that. Mistakes. And it's okay. And it's okay. It's like the eagle teaching, right? The eagle feather, where as long as you get back on the road again, it's okay. It's okay to fall off, to go back into bad habits. But as long as you get picked back up again and get on the path, it's all good. And that's what, like, this is what you're doing, right? This is what I do in the sweats and the water walks and all the gifts that we offer to community. We're helping people to get back on the road if they've fallen off. And there are mixed, you know, personalities. Lots. Everyone has their own path, their own journey that has brought us to this territory. And some of them are gifts, and some of them not such good gifts. But we just smudge them, like we just did here. We smudge them away. And we just highlight or uplift the good ones. We try to highlight those gifts that we carry.
That's beautiful. I want to reflect back on humility a bit and share a little bit of a story. Well, a truth. It's a truth.
It's the truth.
It's a truth. when we were trying to put the lodge together at that time, and it wasn't Crowshield Lodge, it was just called the Lodge, and we were trying to get a PDF together so that we could send out. And I remember sending the PDF to you. And you said, yeah, it looks good, Clarence, but can I ask you one thing? And I said, yeah, and I was all happy that we got it together. And you said, why are there so many pictures of you in here? And I went, oh. And I said, that's because we didn't have any photo stock. And I just peeled out these pictures and dropped them into this PDF to make it look good. And then you said, well, what about humility? You know, and how are you representing yourself? And I went, ooh, you're right. You're right. So I thank you for that. And I always remember that. And I always remember these conversations that I have with my mentors, with my teachers, with my brothers, with my sisters, with my elders when they catch something small, and then they just whisper it to me and they go, "Whoa, like what about this, Clarence?" And then it's just, you know what, you're right. What about this? And then that helped realign me, and that stuck with me, and those conversations always stick with me, because I know it's coming from love. It's coming from that unconditional love. And I wish I hope and I wish I would have been in a place or space when I was young to get those teachings then. But because I didn't grow up with my culture or my reserve and I grew up with Mennonites, it's really different. So I have to thank you for doing things like that, and for always wanting the best. Wanting the best. And that's that unconditional love. And all we're trying to do is to be the best ancestor we can be. And that's by creating places, spaces that haven't been created before, offering things to people that haven't experienced them before. And we want to model how we can do this in a good way. And that's where I always want to come back and thank you so much for investing in our team, for taking the time out and for saying, Clarence, I have something that I think will be good for the team. And then you and I have a conversation about it, and then we do it. And I know, to be totally honest, some team members have said, Clarence, if I knew we were doing this, I would have taken the day off. Right? Because it's hard work. It's hard work, but that hard work is we're looking at ourselves. We're looking at those things that we carry. We look at how we're conditioned. We look at how times in our life impact us today. And if we haven't addressed or released those times, they're still going to have power over us, and they can actually make us sick. So I can't thank you enough for having those workshops with us about the wounds that we carry, all those wounds that we've picked up throughout our lives that impact us with our mind, our body, our spirit, our emotions. Maybe even sexually we've been abused, right? And that will even shift us even more. And people don't like to talk about those things. I know I never did, because it brought me shame, and I thought people would blame me, until I came to terms that whatever happened to me wasn't my fault, right? It wasn't my fault. But then the masks that we wear, like these are powerful, powerful workshops that we do.
Yes.
But it's self-work. It's self-work. And you get to look at yourself, and then after we do these we dive into these hard things. So we open up, and then we come out and we do a sweat to close it back up and dust ourselves off. So by doing those things, is that your way of showing us how we could be the best ancestor we could be?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So like when we're doing that work and we're sitting in circle, right?
Yeah.
And we're all sharing what we just did.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're even awakened to something.
Right.
We go, wow, I didn't even know that. Now I'm reminded about that part of myself I totally forgot about on my journey. And that little obstacle that I had, that helped me to get here.
Right.
And so now I know how to get over that obstacle. And I can tell someone next to me or behind me, I can help you because I've done that. I can help you with that addiction, or I can help you with the challenge of depression because I've gone through it. But sometimes we forget that we've gone over those hurdles.
Yes.
And when we do the workshops like that, we can look at ourselves and go, oh yeah, I remember that wound. I remember that scar that I have, that it came from the residential school, that it came from the 60s group. All of those I've been in.
Right.
And then the other journey of shame.
Yes.
And that shame is something that a lot of our people carry because we were told we weren't good enough.
Yeah.
And so now when we build ourselves up, even being vulnerable to say that I was ashamed, that takes a lot of courage to say that I was ashamed or that I am ashamed. And that vulnerability, and when we share it in circle, other people say, wow, that's how I felt, and it's okay. Because someone else is going through the same thing, has felt the same thing. And so when we do that work, we can be who we are. We can say, this is the journey I've been on, and say, wow, I overcame that. That's amazing. I am so brave.
Yes.
I am so brave. Like, I carry that teaching. It's one of the grandfather teachings, being brave, having courage. We don't even think about that. We think about some of the other teachings,
Right.
but we don't think about those inner strengths that we carry. And that's what I like to help people build on. What are those hidden things that you don't even recognize in yourself? That I can see it, but you have to see it. Like
Right.
the people that come, and when they see it, they go, wow. And they don't always have to focus on the negative, but how did they come to that point?
Yeah.
To even be at Crowshield Lodge, right?
I like that. I like that. And sometimes we forget about similar situations that we've been in and what got us through those situations. Because I find myself asking people, I can see that you're struggling, that you're triggered. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe something has shifted. And I always ask, has this happened before to you? And what did you do the last time to help pull yourself out or realign yourself? And when I reflect back to asking myself those questions, what always worked for me was going back to the land. Back to the land. Feeling the land, hearing, being, smelling, seeing, and then starting a fire, and being in a lodge or doing ceremony. That's where I feel most comfortable, is on the land, and that's where I feel that it realigns me. And we have teachings that, if someone strays off that good path in life, we don't shun them, we don't judge them, we don't put them in jail.
That's right.
What we do is we surround them as friends and family, and we take them back out to the land. Because our mother has everything we need to sustain life and to get realigned and to heal.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so recently, like speaking of the land, I do fasting camp. And I talked to them the last time we were at the petroglyphs
I heard.
in Peterborough. And the sweat lodge we had out there, the men that built it were looking for maple, and they couldn't find any saplings.
Okay.
So they ended up finding poplar. And the poplar is known to be medicine for grief and loneliness. And it was so appropriate that we were in the sweat lodge to help us deal with grief and loneliness. And so we often, we get disconnected from the land, right?
Right.
But when we go back, we realize she's there. She's always there. In those sweat lodges and fasting ceremonies and just being, like with that drum you were singing, right? Just like the heartbeat of Mother Earth. That's where we heal.
Yes.
That's why she's called our mother. We sit on her lap. We sit on her heartbeat. Yeah, and she helps us. She wraps us up. Like we're wrapped up in here. Yeah.
Yeah, she gives us comfort.
Solace.
Yes. A connection that nothing else can. And then we get to start hearing our relatives that are around. Right? The little birds, the squirrels.
And you mentioned that you want Crowshield to be like an ancestor, right?
Yes.
To be an ancestor. And when I think of ancestors, I think of obviously about these grandfathers you have here, our oldest ancestors, so they're
Right.
always helping us. And so that stability that the lodge offers,
Right.
this lodge, the Sweat Lodge, Crow Shield Lodge, that's what people need.
Right.
It's stability, to feel that grounded. And then there's always the voices of our ancestors. Like the ancestors are not gone.
Right.
They're always here. And they're not behind us, they're still here. We might not see them in the physical, but their spirits are here. Their teachings are here. Like the Sweat Lodge teachings aren't mine. They were gifted to me. They're for everyone to hear. And so like the next generations to come, when you're saying the next people that you want people to think further down what Crow Shield is offering. Everything we do is for our ancestors. Even just sitting here, they're listening and they know what's happening.
They're not far away
They're not far away.
at all.
The leaf's thickness away.
I like that. I like that. We got leaves all over, right? That's the distance. They're away from us.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
thickness. And I really like that, and I really love that. And we're making a difference, you know, by having these places and spaces available to the people and the communities. It's helping, and we're going into our 5th year.
Wow.
We're going into our 5th year. We have 4 sites now, but man, did we ever get hammered by the snow, right? But I can say that our team, our land team, they were out here day. They weren't out here at night, but I was going to say day and night just to prepare these sites, because they were digging off like 18 to 20 centimeters of snow, or inches. I think it was inches off of each of our structures. But it's amazing to be able to see this grow, to see the people come, and to offer the healing to the ones who are broken, and to offer some guidance to the ones who are lost. And I've been broken. I am broken. I've been lost. But it feels so good when you connect with your people, when you connect with the ones who are like-minded, when you connect with the ones who are helpers and who want to give back. And that's what we're trying to do. And I think we're this far away from a land trust because we've been thinking of one of the biggest barriers for Indigenous people is always having access to the land. And how we have access to our 4 sites is through allyship. So we had to make relations with these individuals who have the land, and then we had to see if they would align with our teachings and let us use their land. But once again, Crow Shield Lodge still doesn't have their own land. So I was thinking, how could we get around that, and how could we use something that would help us create these places and spaces that could be for the people in the next 7 generations. So the way that I thought we could move forward is to create a land trust where, plus there's stuff going on in Wilmot where they're expropriating land. And I thought, how could we slow that down? How can we slow that down? So I figured the way we could slow it down is by creating a land trust that would be there for ceremonial purposes, for the next generations, for ceremony, for ecological purposes, for doing research, but not for development, not for building on, just for preservation. And I think the more places and spaces we could get to preserve, sooner or later we could find ways to build these lodges on the places where the land trust is, where we could slowly move away from depending on the allies for land. I don't know if that's a good concept. I'll have to put some more thought into that. Or we will have to have more conversation about that. But saying that, like, this farm connected with me about 6 months ago, and it's right outside of New Dundee. And in the 80s, they did a archaeological dig there, and the farm is called the Coleman site. And when they did this archaeological dig, they found the longest longhouses in North America,
Wow.
which is half an hour, 30 minutes away from here. But do a lot of people know that? No. So when we went out to talk to those people, and they showed us their the land, and they gave us a topographical map where these lodges were, and they took us to the field, something special happened. Just very special, where I put some dried fish down, sang some songs, smudged, and then they said it was the first time that a drum beat was heard on that property in over 500 years.
Wow.
And then a friend of mine said he could see like a mist, and these women stepped out of the mist and started dancing around us. So I think that's a good sign that there's still a connection there, and that we need to go back and acknowledge those people and feed them and honor them in a way,
Absolutely.
because those
Ceremony.
are the ones that were here before we were.
One of the the challenges about not having land or having our land taken,
Yes.
that's part of colonization.
Yes.
That was the whole purpose for residential school, 60 school, was for the land.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that, it's a reminder. We always have to fight for our land just to find a place to build a sweat lodge.
Yes.
We have to make arrangements. We have to negotiate. And it's like, why do we have to negotiate? It's our land.
Yes.
But that's how it worked.
Yeah.
That's the system we're in. And I always say, maybe we should bring some of those people into the sweat lodge.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just invite them in
Yes.
and to experience the ceremonies. And they do feel it.
Yeah.
But they need to, if they don't experience it, they won't know it.
Right.
And so that's something that you could think about. Invite them into the ceremony, and say these, and describe that sweat lodge. It's saplings, and it's from the earth, and all of what we're bringing in is from the earth, from the
Yes.
land. The fasting, invite them to fast. Some people might discourage that, but I believe in bringing people in,
Right.
so if they know how it feels, they'll understand. It's like bringing people out to the land or the water.
Right.
The young people, and an elder in the States said, how can they defend or want to defend and fight for the land if they don't even know it's there?
Right.
It's that whole idea, that relationship with the land. But with allies, it's not always that easy, because for them it's a resource.
Yes.
They don't see it as our mother. They don't see it as our healer.
Right.
For them, it's money.
Yes.
And so that's the challenge, right?
It is.
That's the challenge, because it's money. And I think there was an issue with, well, can you give us money now for this site?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's for.
Yeah.
It's to bring money in.
Yes.
And this is the challenge when you think about this ally building and thinking going forward with a land trust. How can that be done in a way that they respect
Right.
the land, not just the financial aspect of it,
Yes.
to honor that part.
Yes, because land has always been commodity.
That's right. And if they don't know that, so I think the challenge too with a lot of non-Indigenous peoples
Right.
is they don't know that the earth is our mother.
Right.
They don't know that she's sustaining us. And if we're constantly destroying her, she can't help us anymore.
No.
And that's coming to that.
It is.
Where like even like climate change,
Yeah.
it's Mother Earth can't help us anymore.
No.
So, like this relationship building, it's important. I know that from the All Nations Grand River Water Walk, is when you bring in people, you educate them and talk about, we all need water. She's our medicine. If we don't have her, we're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And if the land is destroyed, there's our medicines gone.
Gone.
There's the water gone.
And then in time, we'll be gone
That's right.
when we don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've even heard that now they're even talking about maybe putting a pipeline into Lake Erie,
That's right.
because by 2051 we're going to be in a bit of a predicament here in Waterloo region, that we might not have the infrastructure to supply all the water to everybody who could possibly show up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when could you share a bit more about your responsibilities to the water and how that started, and I think it's grown, hasn't it?
It has grown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I've
pretty.
seen some pictures recently, and
Yeah.
yeah, you got quite a crew
Mm-hmm.
that are coming to honor and to respect and to share that place and space.
Mm-hmm. So it actually started on the Josephine Ba Mandaman.
Yes.
Was her last water walk, and I walked there with one of my other sisters,
Okay.
and so that was amazing. It was so transformative. So that walk started in Duluth, Minnesota,
Oh.
and it went all the way to Matane, Quebec. We touched all of the Great Lakes, and then all the way up the St. Lawrence. We walked all the way up there. I joined in Leamington. That was where I started, and walked all the way out east. And that was transformative, like you have no idea. You start dreaming about it. So we have the men carrying the eagle staff and the women carrying the pail. In the Grand River Water Walk, all genders are invited.
Okay.
And so that whoever, if there's two-spirit, they carry the pail or the staff.
Okay.
So everyone can come, and all colors. Because like Josephine says, everyone needs water. And so when I first started doing the work here in this territory, it was through Jean Becker.
Okay.
Because I just got my master's of social work at Wilfrid Laurier. And I was thinking, what am I going to do next? And I was trying to get some ideas. And so I called her up. We got together like this. I said, so I'm just trying to think what I should do next. Like what steps, kind of like you, right? Thinking what the vision of doing something to help, and always to help. And she said, well, what did you do last year? I said, I walked with Josephine Ba for her last walk. And Jean said, you need to walk for the Grand River. She needs help. And so that idea, that seed was planted in that way. And so I just kept nourishing that idea, that dream, the vision. And I started talking to the people in the area. And because they say it's the people in the area that should be walking for that river. Because it's their water. It's not theirs. But they're living in that, around those waterways. So I started talking to some of the now allies,
Right.
and non-Indigenous peoples, and I asked Josephine, is this okay to include them? She goes, absolutely. Everyone needs water. And not just our people should be responsible
Right.
for the water.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. 2017 is we had the first water walk.
Here in Waterloo
And
region.
yeah, and it was a two-week walk. Josephine joined us.
Amazing.
Yeah, she came and opened the ceremony with us. She stayed. She was only going to come for that one day, and she ended up staying for like 3 days. And it grew from there. So every time you do a water walk, just like a ceremony, it has to be a 4-year commitment. So it's a commitment that you make to the water, and then to the land. Because when you walk for the water, you're walking for everyone.
Right.
All beings, all of creation, because all of creation needs the water. And I would go to a lot of the different faith groups
Yes.
and talk about this. And it was powerful, because I was always talk about all of the smallest beings that we see when we're walking. The first beings that we hear, like the crickets and the frogs and the toads and then the robins and the blue jays and the crows. There's a pattern that we recognize. Not everyone knows that,
Right.
because they're not on the land. They don't know that there's a whole pattern of who speaks first. It's the robin that speaks first, and then the voices they come in. It's just you'll know it once you start hearing it. And then I talk about the sky, the millions of stars that we see up in the darkness, and so many of people have never seen the stars because they're in the city.
Right.
And so they go up, and then I talk about the sunrise, what happens when the sky starts changing color. And people that I was talking to were crying. They cried because I just talked about what they know in their spirit, but they've lost connection to. And so when you do the walk, when people start coming, one of the men that was on that first walk is coming to a meeting tonight.
Amazing.
He's still part of it as a helper and as an ally. So it can work. You can build on those.
So 8 years later, it's
8 years later. 8 years later. Yeah, this year we're walking for the dams, for the water behind the dams.
Okay.
Because like us humans, we get dammed. We have blockages. Our emotions, our thoughts, we get into this pattern of thinking that's outside. I'm not going past that thought,
Right.
that idea. It's my idea, or it's my learning, and that's the only way to think. And so it's like that was when you do the water walk, all of a sudden you see, wow. You see the constriction, you see the restrictions, you see the chaos on the roads, you see the pavement, the land being covered by pavement. You see it. And you have to be part of it. Like part of the journey with Crow Shield is being part of it.
Right.
And you see all the obstacles, you feel the obstacles, the tensions. It's like being in a dam. Everything that is in there, that life behind the dam, the fish, the medicines, all of the grasses around the waterways, the turtles, the snakes, the otters, everything that's in there, the herons, the eagles that come. They need the water. And when that water stops flowing because of the dams,
Right.
everything changes. That whole flow, that relationship changes. That's what it's like when we're prevented from being on the land with our ceremonies.
Right.
The natural flow of things stops.
It's disrupted.
It's disrupted.
Yep.
And suddenly when you can't go up to Eramosa,
Yes.
the land is saying, what happened? The trees are saying, what happened? There were ceremonies here.
The poison ivy saying what happened.
Yeah, what happened? We like them. So they need, like we always say, the land needs ceremonies.
Right.
Because they know, they hear the songs, like what you were just singing with your drum. They hear it.
Yeah.
They go, wow, they're back. Someone is here again. So they need this. The land needs us. It's not just the people.
Right.
It's not just the community itself, but what they get from the land. It's a reciprocal. When we give those teachings in the workshops and they start feeling themselves and they heal,
That's beautiful.
we're going out to the land as well.
Because the condition of our water is so challenged right now, and people take on that 4-year commitment, how does that impact the individuals in the walk? Does it impact them? I'm just thinking how, like, I'm trying to think of like a negative thing that could happen on the walk and a positive thing. I'm picturing a purple sky just before the sun comes up, and I'm picturing a pail going down the road, and I'm also picturing birds watching, I'm picturing horses, I'm picturing deers, I'm picturing everybody watching the pail and the staff. But then I'm also picturing how the condition of the water that's in that pail and how that could be impacting creation, and how that could be impacting the people with that commitment. Does that happen?
Absolutely.
It does?
It absolutely. What happens is, so every morning when we start the walk,
Right.
we do this. We have the ceremony of smudging.
Yep.
because we understand that as human beings, we're 65% water, if not more.
Right.
And so our water is affected in anytime we have a conversation like this. It could be a joyful communication,
Right.
a joyful feeling. So our water is impacted. That's how our emotions are felt. It's through the water in us.
Right.
And so when we're in that ceremony, we always start cleanse all the thoughts. Don't take in any negativity. Don't bring your trauma or your drama with you. You know, leave it at the door, like your ego.
Right. Right.
Leave that behind, and just come with an open heart, positive vision. Listen to creation, and when we're singing, we're using our voice to sing and pray. So we're putting our voice towards the positive. So we're praying for the water. We're carrying the pail, and the men are carrying the staff, and so that energy, whatever energy we're carrying, it's going into the pail. That's why we're asked people to smudge,
Right.
and to have smudge in your car. And if you're feeling really nervous or tense, go and smudge,
Okay.
because it does go into the pail. And interestingly, the pail also gets really heavy, and so does the eagle staff when we're going through territory that's got windmills, that's got pollution,
Really?
that's got a lot of like traffic, heavy traffic, congestion. All of that, the pail feels it. The pail gets heavy. It's noticeable. And the staff gets heavy. Even on days when you would think like it's beautiful weather,
Yep.
but the congestion is unbearable. And our stress, and at the end of the day, like we sit in circle and we all share, what did you feel? What did you experience? And people are sometimes joyous, or they're happy because they saw the horses run down. They saw all the winged ones coming. Because you're right, they're the ones that are watching. They know exactly what we're doing.
They do.
And it's the human people, the humans, the two-legged, they're frustrated because we're all, they think they see us as a obstacle.
Right.
Oh, they're stopping, they're making the traffic slow down, you know? Or they're interfering with getting to work,
Right.
right? All of those things, and we can hear them honking their horns, you know, like, get out of the way, and we get yelled at. So that's the negative.
Unfortunate.
We get yelled at, we get honked at, and the negative, it's humanity that
Gets in the way.
creates the chaos. It's humanity.
It gets in the way.
Exactly. And so everybody at the end of that day, everyone is like super smudging, right?
Right.
But we are allowed, and we share that struggle, and everyone speaks. We get rid of it, and we start again the next day. But people will talk about, like, so that man that's coming tonight, he was transformed from that first walk 8 years ago. He says, I walked and I knew that I had to come back.
That's amazing.
So that's what I was trying to get the homeless at one time. I said, bring the men to the water walk.
Right.
If you want them to be transformed, the walk does it.
Okay.
The workshops help,
Yes.
but this water walk, it's amazing. Like one of the men's going to come again this year for the whole thing. He walked one day last year with me. He's going to walk with me this year for the entire walk.
That's beautiful.
It's our waters. It's us.
It's our life.
It's our life.
And then we get in the way. Right.
We get in our own way
We get in
sometimes.
our own way of trying to do the right thing and doing the Creator's work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
where do you see yourself, in the next 5 years? Doing more water walks?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you?
Yeah, I absolutely. And I'm teaching others.
To take on that role?
Yes.
To take on that commitment?
Exactly. So I'm trying to bring in more Indigenous peoples in this territory for the
Right.
Grand River, because it's their river. And I'm teaching. And I know there's a certain time you realize where you have to hand over the work.
Right.
That's what we do. We don't say, I'm going to do this forever, because the next generation has to learn.
Yes.
They have to get the teachings. so that they can keep it going. So the more young ones are coming to the water walk, to the water ceremonies. So there's a ceremony on Saturday, a water ceremony. So we're trying to bring more young people to come, because they're the ones who are going to keep it going. They're the ones who are going to keep the sweat lodge going. They're the ones who are going to keep the teachings in the Midday Lodge going. They're the ones. They're the next generation, the youth and the men. We need to bring more men.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They always say we're a bit slow on the draw, right?
Exactly. I need to give you a little push.
A little push.
Yeah.
And I've heard that from the beginning. You know, the women will be the ones who will be there, and it'll take a little bit for the men to come. And that's why I'm trying to do the best that I can to role model to the men, to the youth, how we can do this work in a good way.
Yeah. We need each other.
We do, and it's not easy work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not easy work what we go through. I could not imagine you doing a water walk and then people honking at you or yelling at you. I'd find that very challenging.
It is challenging. It is challenging.
Right? I would find that very, because you're my sister, and if somebody would do something to you, I would want to stop it, especially if it's done in a negative way.
And so, like, when we bring the men in, that's their role, is to protect the women.
Right.
And the women are carrying the water. That's the responsibility. That's the men's responsibility, is to protect the women. Except we're seeing opposite right nowadays in society,
Right.
where it's a lot of misogyny.
Right.
But there's also, if we come back to our teachings about that, the men's gift, their role, it's all about purpose, right? What's your purpose? And reminding them that one of your main roles was to protect the women, was to help to bring life, and then to take care of that, protect and lift up. And so the men have to lift up their roles, light the fire, and help the other people come back to the fire. Yeah, and not just their own little family. So one of the teachings that I received was that a man should not get married until he has learned how to cook for himself, hunt for himself, clean, make his own clothing. These are the old teachings.
Okay.
And
All
then
they don't apply today, do they?
Obviously they don't. But this is one of the teachings I heard.
Right.
And it's that when you can do that, then you have a family. Then you take care of your family. You'll learn how to do that, and then you go out and you profess to be someone. That's the humility. Can I even take care of my own family? And now I want to take care of the community? Like what? We have to look at our own home. How does it look? Can I take care of myself? Can I take care of myself? Can I nurture myself? Can I, make sure I'm healing? I've healed. I've overcome the obstacles. And then you start a family. Then you're strong enough to do the work for them, and then carry that out into the community.
That's beautiful. One thing I do want to share, and I want to thank you. I had a bit of a challenging time over Christmas. I lost my sister.
Right, I remember that.
And I talked to you about it a little bit, and you encouraged me to reach out to one of our friends. Peter Schuler. I did reach out, and
awesome.
I want to thank you for that, because that was some amazing guidance. My partner Nikki and I did go visit Peter and his wife, and we did an amazing sweat, and
Right.
And it really helped me release. And I needed that. Saying that, I've never done a sweat that hot with Peter. they're a bit more gentler, but wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was amazing. But
He's
that's
got
right.
he's got an amazing firekeeper too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've known him for a long time.
Don?
Donnie.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a really good firekeeper.
Yeah, yeah. I want to have more conversation with Don, and but I did want to thank you just from for encouraging me to do that. Because I get stuck in my own head, and I think that sometimes I can do this myself, or I have the means or the know-how, and no, I don't. I don't.
I was just going to tell you that. Don't do it yourself.
Right.
The thought came to me just before you said that.
Yeah.
Before you said the 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The thought came, don't do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the right way.
No,
it's
isn't.
Community, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's yourself in the center of the medicine wheel.
Yeah.
Clarence.
Yeah.
And then all around, then that next circle is the family. And then the next one is community. And then the next one is your nation. So it's those concentric circles.
Yeah.
But you have to say, this is the vision I want.
Right.
So when you reach out, right, and it starts. But all those other people have to be part of it.
Yes. Yes.
And say, this. Are you sure you want to do that? Or this might be a better way. So everybody is part of it. It's like a board of directors, right?
Right.
Where you bring in the elders, you bring in the different age groups. Because sometimes different age groups have different perspectives.
Yes.
They might say, hey, what about this?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And you go, hey, I never thought of that before. And then so you add on. Those are the gifts. So it's like the water walk. I ask people, what are you good at? What are you good at? What are you good at? I'm not going to tell you what to do. What are you good at?
Right.
So if you don't want to do something, you're not going to feel good doing it. But what's your gift? And someone says, well, I'm good at fundraising. I'm good at meeting people. I'm good at relationship building. I'm good at the web. I'm good at, you know, all those things. So then when it came together, everyone had those gifts. I was just guiding. I was giving the teachings for the water walk. And everyone else was doing all of the other outside work. And that's how it could be, where everyone else is focusing on their gifts to help the lodge.
Yeah. And that's what we try to do here. We help people discover their gifts, and then we give them a platform to develop them. And it works really well. And then we try to help them answer 3 questions of who am I, why am I, and what is my purpose in life. Took me a long time to answer those 3 questions myself.
It'll take me still a long time to answer those questions. What do I want to be when I grow up? I don't know. Like, what are you going to do down the road? Like, how would I know?
That's amazing.
Only Creator knows what I'm going to be doing down the road.
That's right. One thing I did want to say is I want to thank you for being in my circle, right? For being in my circle of family, and saying that. I got you a little something here.
Oh my!
That I want to offer you.
Oh.
You were talking about making your own clothes, so I don't know if there's enough leather in here to make your own clothes, and there's some material.
Awesome.
But there's also something there that that I think you're really going to appreciate.
I see it.
But what I can say is that
Fantastic.
I really appreciate you walking with me and us on this journey. And
I love it being on this journey.
and I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. What it means to me, what it means to us, that you're committed and you care about not only me, but you care about Crochet Lodge, the team. And
I do.
a lot of them haven't maybe had that connection, you know. But it means a lot. And maybe they don't say it, so I'm going to say it for them. That I and we appreciate our relationship, and we are always here for you as much as you are here for us. So from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to say Chimigwich for joining us today
Yeah, my pleasure.
on this on this beautiful, beautiful day. Thanks for walking with us, and for everybody out there, if you're struggling, ask for some help. if you're not, enjoy the day. And if you haven't heard of Crow Shield Lodge, come and check us out. And from that, I'm going to sign off by saying, Bamapi.
Bamapi Gawabin. It's been an honor to visit with all those who are here, our ancestors, and with you, Clarence and Alyssa, and our friend over here,
Benjamin.
Firekeeper Ben Miigwech. So good to see you.
All right. Take care, everyone. Till next time.
Bamapi.
Bamapi.